And that is a wrap. My stint of watching Hollyoaks 2015 is over. Why? Well, because I just about went and finished it. So, how was Hollyoaks 2015? And why did I decide to go ahead and watch it? Well, Hollyoaks was one of the shows that I picked up during early pandemic when I realized, man, EastEnders ain't really cutting it. Let's watch some more soaps. And obviously I was just an EastEnders fan at the time, and then slowly went on and kind of went, alright, what's about? Coronation Street, lovely. Got a bit annoyed at the amount of ads, which really didn't help. But you know, I got through it, and Coronation Street quickly became one of my favorite shows. And I think I also tried Hollyoaks, but I think I tried Hollyoaks later that year. I think I started watching Hollyoaks. It was either October 2019 or October 2020. I think the first episodes I started to watch were the may have been the 25th anniversary, whatever one was with, yeah, the 25th anniversary. So that would have been 2020. It was around July to August 2020. There we are. That gives a bit more clarity. But obviously, EastEnders kind of fell to the wayside for the most part with most of these shows. Except then Hollyoaks crept on in and started slowly becoming my favourite soap that I was currently watching. Now, of course, I've rewatched a lot of old EastEnders, mostly through a lot of storylines, and I've rewatched a lot of like Coronation Street. I've watched at least 2000. I've watched 2019, 2018. I was gonna start doing 2017, but I also had this big ambitious idea of watching all of the years from 2000 onwards. And at that point, I'd also kind of mentally, I was just like, oh, whoa, fucking sort yourself out, big man. That's one hell of a tall order. But you know, I kept it going though. I kept it going. I didn't, you know, I enjoyed watching a lot of Coronation Street. But when choosing what soap I was going to watch more of, it kind of started to fluctuate, because it also kind of... I watched a lot of classic EastEnders, like the first year. A good year or so back, I binged about 50 episodes in 2 weeks. And obviously that's where I started coming up with the idea of watching Walford. Obviously it's a different product than what I was initially planning for it to be. Obviously it was just going to be a solo endeavor. But, you know, Piggy came to me with the idea and said, yo, you want to do this? And I would have been dumb to say no. And was probably the right gamble to make, because, you know, by this time, it's the longest project I've, done. So, it's ultimately been a very good idea. Let me just get some music going on, just as I ramble into the madness. Yeah, and obviously I carried on catching up on a lot of other stuff. But Hollyoaks has very quickly become one of my favorite shows, and I honestly couldn't tell you why. Everything happens at an accelerated pace, and most people find it about outlandish. Most people get kind of off-put by the music that they use, which I think does help, brings an extra element. But I also just felt a lot more Hollyoaks characters were a lot more down to earth. Except the main issue with Hollyoaks characters is fundamentally they either have a life expectancy of 20 years or a life expectancy of 2. So I then had to start to think, okay, so I either go ahead and I watch more classic EastEnders, but it'd been too long, and I didn't actually keep on top of it. And want to know what happened in that time? Well, obviously everybody started saying, hey guys, Brookside Episodes has all the episodes. Everybody look at Brookside Episodes. And of course, because people didn't shut the fuck up about it, the archive of EastEnders is gone. and it's no longer accessible anymore. And that is absolutely fucking miserable. I'm very upset by this, and I hope that one day there'll be an easier way to watch some old classic EastEnders. But, you know, I checked on... I remembered starting to look at watching old Hollyoaks, just to stay back on track. Obviously, the main issue is that... Oh, God. I believe I started watching... I watched about a month of Hollyoaks 2017. And then I looked again, and I'm like, oh, there's 2016. And then I watched a bunch of, like, Hollyoaks 2016. I believe. And then also, yeah, I believe I also watched a month of Hollyoaks 2016, rather. Then went, oh, there's Hollyoaks 2015. Whoa. Obviously one of the best, one of the episodes that I enjoyed the most of 2016 was the episode where Jade starts to realize that she has this, like, dream scenario where it's her 16th birthday party. There we are. She has this dream scenario, but then ultimately it ends up all being fake because she does have cancer and it is going to get worse. Obviously Jay was introduced in the 2015 episodes, but regardless, that's and then eventually I went, you know what, let's start from the very start of how far back we can go without having to, like, talk to people to get some archives or go through that. I suppose if anybody does have any archives of any of these shows, hit me up. It would be a cool thing to see, as I just want to watch more soap, honestly. It's just the sheer fact of the matter is. Excuse me, just burp a second. I just love soap. And I love the idea of building on top of all of the soap knowledge. Because if you slowly piece together everything that's happened, all of these scenarios can be fucking groundbreaking if you know the history. Alright, you can see the signs, you can see it happen, you can see these developments like a hawk. But you can also... I mean, it's a gift and a curse, as you may proceed to absolutely despise it in a sense, but, like, if you're able to know the history behind all the characters, yes, you can start to believe that oh, maybe, you know, this is out of character, and that's fine. But I'm not really a very I'm quite pedantic in some ways, but in terms of media viewing, I'm not particularly pedantic. So I can get away with, like, a lot of stuff. And it's just it's an interesting tale to be able to watch soaps from, like, removed from what you're currently watching, because you get to have a little bit of a different perspective. You can pretty much understand why. Sure, I'm getting completely. Essentially, being removed from what you're currently watching allows it a bit of breathing room and allows you to kind of take that excitement and put it somewhere else. And sometimes that does manifest in some slightly odd ways. Obviously, like, I have a weird sense of love towards Hollyoaks 2015, which I genuinely can't argue I have for Hollyoaks 2023. Like, there are so many characters I enjoy from that Hollyoaks 2015 period that I would love to be able to see some of these characters come back and some of these families come back. But it's the sheer fact of Hollyoaks is that most of these families are probably either dead and buried or just gone. are never coming back. Like, obviously, the main favorite family of 2015 has got to be the Roscoes. You know, they're all like the fucking ragtag group of, not thugs, but you know, they aren't all like squeaky clean. It would essentially be the Mitchells if there were a lot more boys. Like, it's like a clique. Really is a big family of lovable characters. You have Ziggy Roscoe. Tremendous. Actor. Well, wannabe actor. Wannabe model. Absolute fucking moron. You have Joe, the pillar, the stability that keeps them all together. You have Jason and Robbie doing their own shit, getting involved in each other's business way much more than they should, you know. And then you even have the people who are close to the family. You have the Butterfields, the Kim Butterfield, the Lindsay Butterfield, you know. And those two characters are particularly mental in how they go about things. And it was really interesting to see, because the bulk of you see Kim struggling. I'll just say a warning now, this is going to go into the events of Hollyoaks 2015. If you don't want to hear any spoilers and you haven't watched it yet, go watch it on Channel 4. Yeah. If you hate the ads, just pay for all 4. It's like £4 a month. And I've watched so many episodes in that time, so I am perfectly happy with the service. Kim spends most of 2015 kind of like fawning over Grace. Mostly because she's really been like just traumatized, because obviously she had a twin sister, Kath, who when they were younger, Lindsay pushed her and she fell into some water, and then is now living in a vegetative state, can't move, can't speak, can't talk, can't look after herself. And this has dramatically impacted how Kim like develops and forms like attractions to people. Because these attractions become these really obsessive crushes, and you know, she spends the first bit trying to be with Esther, but then suddenly suddenly Grace is there, and Grace is this like amazing like power Barbie, sexy businesswoman, criminal, but also got a soft touch. And Kim decides that Grace is the one she wants, and she like obsesses over her completely, and she just keeps on like ticking on. But we also get to see the other aspects of the people. Obviously, the nurses have such a good dynamic. Obviously, you have Tegan, Kim, Celine, and Lindsay as well. You all have this like tight friendship group where they're all kind of taking the piss out of each other, but fundamentally they're all just trying to live, and they're all just trying to do their own shit. It's perfectly fine. It's like how you'd want it to go. Like, you have this clique, then you have Dr. Charles Savage or Charlie Savage, you know, and he's like Charlie's Angels, and it's wonderfully chaotic but hilarious route of comedy. But where you see Kim develop these unhealthy obsessions at the start of the year, at the end of the year, Lindsay portrays some similar behavior. She had to try kill bollocks. Not Ziggy. Oh god, I'm completely blanking of his name. It's Joe Roscoe's brother. Bollock, what is this? Freddie Roscoe, there we are. You know, so Freddie is, you know, because she believes that he was going to run away and he was going to ruin their perfect family. And then by the end of the year, I mean, first and foremost, you find out that Lindsay's the gloved hand killer, which is like, oh, fuck. You know, she's been ripping shit up. She's been murdering everyone. Like, she murdered a lot of people in the span of a year, and at least tried to. And obviously, I'll get into the death that affected me most this year, and the storyline that I love the most. But, you know, we can just carry on, like, forward. Just keeping it all, like, real. Keeping it all lovely. It's just... okay, so to keep on with my point, obviously... Lindsay starts to get obsessed with Joe again. And obviously Joe was her, like, love of her life. You know, like, she genuinely spent so much time with him and built a life with him. And Joe still loves her for the longest time. Until Mercedes has him. And then she decides that to stay in control and to not worry, that all she has to do is not, like, she just has to get Joe by his own. And it's a really interesting angle because, like, you don't see who the gloved hand killer is for several months before it's actually revealed to be Lindsay Roscoe. And they never went and teased it before. They teased it could be Celine. They teased it could be Kim. They even teased that it could be Tegan. But Lindsay was never in the firing line for all of this. And it all comes to a head after Charles Savage proceeds to figure out with Cindy, oh, yo, it was a woman. It was a woman who's been doing this. It was Lindsay. But nobody really finds out. But yeah, the Roscoes are probably my favorite family within Hollyoaks at this time. I would love to see some of them come back because some of these families are so thin on the ground, and like seeing how sad everybody was when said character dies, you need these big families for it to reverberate through. You need to, like, see the fallout and the drama. Seeing everybody just cry like a bastard to know that Ziggy died at the end on Christmas Day in his Santa suit. To know that he's never going to be seen again, there's genuine tears. There's genuine emotion on display. They are like brothers. And it's just absolutely terrific. Because that's my biggest issue with a lot of soaps at this point in time. Other than, like, the Dingles in Emmerdale. Like, most of these families are so unbelievably, like... Sorry. Excuse me. Most of these families are unbelievably light. It's like when you're supposed to bring in... Obviously, you're bringing back... Cindy Beale. You can't be fucking leaving out anybody else. You need the family members to be shocked, because then who the fuck cares? If people on the show don't care, I don't care. There's no point in giving a shit. So seeing how they all reacted to Ziggy's death was tremendous. Okay, so obviously since I've teased it at this point, the storyline that made me ugly cry like a motherfucker was obviously the Dylan and Trevor storyline. Obviously, Dylan Jenkins is brought on in to be like Trevor's really kind of... Basically, if Trevor looked at Dylan like on the street by himself, he wouldn't look at him twice. But, you know, Dylan, the fucking emo goth type, you know, listens to heavy metal, just is there to be completely... is just there to be the complete opposite of what of who Trevor is. You know, Dylan shows this real depth. You slowly learn that he likes to dress as a woman because it's how he feels comfortable. But you slowly see that Trevor can't put this behind him. Like, he sees him, he thinks he's a freak. He makes him sit out his court date. He doesn't get there because he's too busy chasing his other child. And a car chase ensues, but not before Dylan has gotten all dressed up, looks amazing in the dress, got some red hair, wearing some heels, and is being escorted away. But not before Grace and Trevor chase Kim and Esther, who are trying to steal baby Curtis. But then they hit a police van, and it has Dylan in there. Oh god, I'm genuinely about to tear up. And you know, you can see it. Dylan immediately jumps to help Trevor try get Kim and Esther out the car, just to make sure that, you know, it's just really sad because Dylan doesn't believe that Trevor loves him. But he does. He really does. He's always loved him. He doesn't understand him, but he loves him deeply. It's like, it's so tragic because Dylan dies thinking that he didn't love him. But he does. And he's absolutely miserable seeing Dylan die. Mate, I'm genuinely welling up here. Holy shit. But, like, the second that you see that, oh, Dylan's fine, alright, he's fine, he's in hospital, he's fine. But then the gloved hand killer sneaks on in and just murders him. And Trevor doesn't even get to say goodbye to his son that he loves. You know, he was happy for him to dress up as a woman. That was fine, just as long as he was there. And obviously, I know like a lot of these characters do die like in advance. You know, I like to read the wikis. I like to read wiki in general. I like to gain more information on the stuff I like. So obviously knew that Dylan was gonna die. But I didn't expect that I didn't expect it to hit me so hard. It's unbelievable the amount that like I shut my door and I went, listen, alright lads, if you need me, I'll be about in like an hour. Because there's some real ugly crying that's gonna go down. So it's just it's so tragic because his love for Dylan starts to make you like the Trevor Royal character. He's not a villain, he's not all bad, he's done some bad things, but he's not all bad. He did love his son. And like, Dylan was only in there for like January to September, like 8 months. It was just so... I wasn't ready for it whatsoever. And I didn't expect to like the Dylan character so much, but I bought in completely to the story because it was so fucking tragic. Dylan died thinking his dad didn't love him. And that eats Trevor up inside. It ruined his relationship with Grace. Nico is traumatized. Oh man, honestly, like, it's such a good storyline that I'd really love to have given a bit more time. Because if it was given more time, holy shit, I would have cried. I would have cried more. I suppose what else carries on with 2015? We obviously see a lot of the we see a lot of Nico's kind of... Nico starts to take a much darker route. Like, she really struggles to... The Nico story is really tragic as well, because Nico genuinely believes that everybody who she loves either gets taken away with her or they just die. And it is really sad to see. What the fuck? Because Nico isn't a bad person, but she becomes one slowly through the years. She starts to hit Sienna. She murders Carly. She didn't mean to, but you know, eventually when she kills Patrick, like she has this uncontrollable temper, and it completely makes sense as to why she goes down this path, because you know, her granddad's Patrick Blake, serial manipulator, abuser. And then her mum, Sienna, who has a lot of the obsessive traits, and you can slowly just see it manifest in Nico. And it just becomes so unbelievably tragic to see the way that she goes. And I'm not prepared for... I'm really not prepared for any of this. As we just continue onward, who else did we see a lot in 2015? Saw a lot of Harry and Steve, which I got to admit, I'm not as into them as I would have liked to. I think I'm out of that stage where I just kind of obsess over one couple. Because I just really enjoy a lot of... I just really enjoy soaps as a whole. And I genuinely can't help myself just like enjoying them overall. Because it becomes such like a big love. There's so many characters who I don't necessarily like now, but now I'm starting to understand. Like, Darren has always been a pretty kind of garbage character. Well, I say garbage. Darren is kind of another character who you see as like the likes of Ian Beale, you know, like as much as you'd love to say that like you like them all the time, you know, they are always them. They have their characteristics that you don't like, they have the characteristics that you do like. But you usually don't have anything that truly kind of establishes it in to go, like, this is why you like them. And I never understood with Darren, because he just makes shit jokes and then just kind of like carries on. But in this year, start to see another side of Darren. Start to see a bit more intrigue with Darren. Like, oh, he's actually an interesting character. You know, he's got his flaws, but you know, those like shit, the shit wisecracks aren't nearly as like heavy in this. And we get to see him develop over the year. And obviously, the other main storyline that I'll probably finish up on. Well, it's obviously, oh god, it's the worst. It's the most tragic storyline of the year. Why? Well, because you slowly realize, why does Renee hate Portia? Well, she doesn't hate Portia. She actually loves Portia. But as you come to learn, that entire side of the family, except for Celine, have all been abused by men. And all been abused from a young age. Obviously, when Pete is brought onto the show, we know before the audience that Pete has already been engaging with a relationship with Cleo. And it makes you feel sick. It makes you feel disgusted. Like, how are they doing this? Sorry, 1 second. One more time, sorry. And it's so just miserable to know that like these characters have been abused, and then, you know, Portia, she obviously reveals that Pete abused her when she was younger, but nobody believed her, and she's carrying on to so much guilt and so much hate, and she feels like it's all her fault. But it's not her fault. It really isn't her fault, because Pete's a serial abuser. He's a paedophile. And then through time, you learn the effects that Celine has had to face through Pete. The amount of like awful comments that just crippled her with an eating disorder. Then what really seals the deal is when you learn that Renee herself was abused. And Renee's the character who's not likable at the start. She's a drunk, she's an alcoholic, she can't stop herself, she seems to hate all her kids. But then you learn that Renee was abused by Nana McQueen's partner, Derek. And that's how she got pregnant initially with Portia. And it's just absolutely heartbreaking to see how just ruined the family had been by men. Men who thought they could take what they want. Men who thought they could just abuse them and just coerce them into getting what they wanted. And I haven't seen, you know, obviously I haven't started 2016 yet. So we haven't seen the part where Pete actually gets sent down. But fuck, man, am I so ready to see him get sent down. Like, I need it. I can. So many characters have been ruined by them. So, well, I say characters. So many people have been, like, betrayed by them. It's just so tragic, isn't it? Oh, Jesus. But yeah, it is, it's a wild ride as Hollyoaks 2015. But it is truly a great year of Hollyoaks. It is quite depressing to see how many characters were there that are now no longer there, either dead or gone. Like Steve's just by himself. You have Steve and Leela and Peri, but like that shouldn't be the thing. There should be more family members for Steve. It's just a very tragic year, but it's a really good one. But I suppose before I just ramble on too long, that has been my soapbox. The show where I just kind of discuss where I've landed on the old soap dial this time. There's no schedule to this show and there is no real editing. It is just more like penny for my thoughts type deal. So that's my thoughts on Hollyoaks 2015. A very interesting year. And I look forward to watching 2016, which I will start after this video because I'm just so committed to all these characters and I just really love a lot of them. And I don't want to see anything bad happen to them. But it is Hollyoaks and it is inevitable. But thank you for watching. I've been Ash. This has been my soapbox. Make sure to catch us on the next one. Thank you and bye-bye.